All right.
9 and there. That's how it feels, so we're already recording. All right. All right, I think we have our first participant on. Hello, hi Chi. Hi Chi Chi. How you doing? Thanks for joining us today. Just getting started. We're just waiting another couple of minutes. I know folks are getting ready to log on. All right. Okay. So thanks, Chichi. Chichi says she's very excited to have you too.
Thank you, Chichi.
Looking forward to it. Good. We wait to have at least one more person join, and then we'll go ahead and start. Just give folks a minute. All right, I think we have the quorum. Yay! Hi, Gogo. How you doing? Welcome. Thanks for joining. All right, we're gonna go ahead and start. Wow, Fiji says legit. She got a text from her mentor, and she knows she'll gain some insights to manage the relationship. Awesome. So tell her no pressure here. So just go ahead and start. Let me just make sure I'm recording. Okay, wait, I am recording. All right. So welcome again. Welcome to the August session for the EPR Women's Network session. And today we have a very, very, very special segment, which we're super excited about. I know it's loaded. We're doing a dry run earlier, and there's a lot to learn. And excited to have a couple of our regulars on this line today. But I'm sure I do know that others will join shortly after. So without further ado, I'll just, I know we already have the chat going on, so we know you can hear us. We know you can, we're all connected here. And so I'm going to just go ahead and just hand over to Tola. Tola she is the one of our leaders within EPR ministry. She is anchoring, leading the charge to almost bring back to life, so to say, what we are called one of our very, very important programs that we believe is a tool that we will be using as a, to really influence our world, make an impact on an individual and just a collective level, which is the EPR Young Ladies Mentoring Program. And so not only is she going to share some deep insights about mentoring from her own experience and, and just her passion in general. I know she is very passionate about this topic, but also she'll have the opportunity to share insight about the program and what we should look forward to, because there's a lot more to come. So I would say watch this space. But without further ado, I'm just going to hand over to Tola, who will just get us started. So over to you.
Thank you, Kemi, and welcome everyone. As Kemi mentioned, this topic that we'll be dealing with today is very near and dear to my heart. And I hope you enjoy this as much as I do. So as you've probably seen right there on the screen, my name is Tola Adenuga. And we'll be discussing today mentoring demystified. So one thing that I'm gonna do a little different today is I'm not gonna start off with what is mentoring or what is not mentoring. My hope is that as we go through the slides together and I share practical examples, we'll all see a reflection of ourselves. So for some of us, we'll identify lies that we've been, we've told ourselves about why we cannot be in a mentoring relationship. For others, you'll identify things that you've been doing right, things that perhaps you need to improve upon or change. For the rest of us, it'll be a call to action, a call to emerge from the shadows and make an impact in the lives of others around us. So I've grouped this presentation into two sections. So there's the general myths, the lies that we tell ourselves that keep us from starting or embarking upon a mentoring relationship, and more complicated myths that kind of look true on the surface, but are actually lies and things that could keep us from getting to our ultimate goal in mentoring relationships. But before we begin, we'd like to take a quick survey from those that are joining us today. Does anyone want to say, hello, tell us where you're joining us from, and what mentoring means to you? Do we have any takers? If we have one or two folks, you can respond via chat, and we will see it on there. So I will wait for a second or two. I am currently looking at the chat. I don't see anything yet, but I think, should I wait for one more second? Okay, so on the chat, you'll see we are asking, you can, we have Kemi from Maryland. Thank you, Kemi from Maryland. Can you tell us what mentoring means to you? And if there's anyone else that wants to jump into the chat section. We also have Ogaga from Boston. Thank you for joining, Ogaga. I hope this session will be as great for you as it is for me presenting it. And then we have TA from Texas. So we do have quite a number of folks from across the US. And someone says on here, mentoring means sharing and influencing others. That is true. It does involve a lot of, providing advice and support and things like that. So I'm going to get out of the chat group for now. At least we've gotten one response as to what mentoring is. Okay, I see another one. It says mentoring is a partnership to impart knowledge and achieve meaningful milestones. That is also a very good definition. Please keep them coming. I'm going to go outside of the chat so that we can get started today. And as soon as I say that, I see something else. Okay, mentoring means impacting knowledge. All very true statements. So I see that we're getting off here. We're getting off to a great start. Like I said, I'm not going to go into the definition of mentoring. I'll just let this presentation flow along, and hopefully we all, get one of two nuggets along the way. So as my favorite TV anchor says it, let's get into it. Okay, so we're going to the next slide, and we're going to be touching on, the lies that we tell ourselves. What are those things that, is generally believed, but might not necessarily be entirely accurate? So the first one, finding a mentor or becoming a mentor is difficult and complicated. I hear that a lot. That is not true. I say that because sometimes, we have both a mentor and a mentee in a relationship. The mentee could find the mentor could find the mentee. So there's no hard and fast rule here. And I learned that several years ago when I was joining the organization that I'm currently with right now. Actually, one of the ladies that interviewed me on my very first day, we ran into each other in the hallway, and she said, Tola, if you ever need anything, if you ever ask any question, feel free to come by. And I was like, okay, I don't really know you, and I don't know why you're telling me this, but okay. But I did take her up on the offer, and it's been about 4.5 years since then. And this lady let me call her Tina. Tina has been fantastic. She's been phenomenal. Recently, there was a mistake I was about to make. I was feeling all emotional and upset about a particular situation at work. And Tina, I just thought, let me call Tina, let me run my idea by her. And it was an absolutely stupid idea. I would have shot myself in the foot. I would have destroyed a particular relationship, and she saved me from that. So I say all that to say, mentors, sometimes they'll find you, and sometimes you'll find them. Mentoring can be very unconscious. And if we're actively engaged and eager to learn, mentors are often available just for the asking. So again, that is one thing, that is one myth that is absolutely not true. Another one is, mentors will solve all your problems. So all I need to do, I'm looking for a job right now, all I need to do is to find a mentor, and they'll open up their massive chains of, their massive network of contacts and will loop me in and all of that. No, false. Absolutely false. Mentors will not solve your problems. They are not there to solve your problems. They're there to provide advice, to impact knowledge, to give you a wide array of options from which you can kind of, expand your thinking. They're very objective, and then you can kind of sort of try to figure it out. And when you think you figured it out, you can bounce it off with them and have that conversation. But a mentor's job is not to get you a job. It's not to open up their network to you. It is, building the relationship. And then at some point, perhaps they will do that just because they feel that they should do that, or they feel that that's the next step for you. So never go into a mentoring relationship thinking, oh, this person is going to help me get a job. They could, but it's not compulsory. It's not part of their job description. So the next myth: mentors drive the relationship, and the success of the mentoring relationship is based on, or is determined by, the mentor. Absolutely false. So there are two in every relationship. There are two people. It takes two people to make a relationship work. So there are two people in the relationship. And so because of that, both parties are responsible. Both parties have responsibilities. You can't leave it up to the mentor, because if you do and the mentor just doesn't have time, that relationship is not going to work. And then, sometimes the mentor at the start of the relationship, they'll take the initiative, to ask the right questions, to be helpful to you as a mentor, to tease out those things that, need to come to light, to be discussed, even as you go through and as you hit each of the different milestones or each of the different issues that might be stumbling blocks or things that you need to tackle. So at the end of the day, the mentor does have a role to play, but the mentee absolutely has a role to play. And the more proactive the mentee is, in my estimation, the better the mentoring relationship works, because you want to make it easy for the mentor, right? Okay, the next myth: I have a mentor, so I am good. I intentionally underlined A because some people think, I have one mentor. I go to that mentor for everything. I don't need another mentor. Well, that's not completely absolutely true. As we'll get to later on in the slides, we're all multifaceted human beings. And so because of that, there are different areas that a potential mentor might be useful to you. And a mentor might be great in this area, maybe in your career and what have you, but it might not be great in another area where you might have a challenge or need some information on. So you don't have to, there is no rule that says you have to have one mentor. You can have as many as you can manage. Mentors are for different phases and different stages in our lives. And we all know, the seasons keep rolling by and it changes and our needs change. There are mentors that will stay with you lifelong, and there are some that are just there for that season. So a mentor is good as a first step, but that's not the only step. The next myth: I finally have a job, or I'm accomplished in my career. I'm a manager, I'm a supervisor, I'm a head of a division, so I'm good. No need for a mentor. False. You are not good. I say that because, again, as we've established in the previous point, at each stage and phase of life, you need something different. So you have a job, great, but life requires continuous improvement. Each level, it's a different battle. It's a different issue. Again, you can have multiple mentors that target each specific area and compartment of your life. Sometimes you can tell when that relationship has come to an end, when that season is over and you need to move on to the next one. There's that. There's such a thing as time-bound mentors. I've been in a program where they provided mentors for one day and you had that conversation and you did what you had to do. I've also been in situations where you have mentors that are for a very specific period of time, like in regulated programs, mentoring programs, they have specific periods of time. We have that type too. So there are different types and different formulations, and you just have to find, which one works for you and get a sense and a feel for how the relationship is going. One thing that I want to stress here, a point of caution, is that even though that, let me rephrase it this way. don't dump your mentor, meaning, oh, I finally got a job, I'm good, I don't need this mentor anymore. Or, oh, I finally got, that promotion, or, oh, I finally worked out this situation, so I think I'm good. I mean, in a relationship, no one likes to be used. And you always have to nurture relationships because you never know when you will need them again. That's just a simple fact of life, even outside of mentoring. So folks need to be aware and conscious of continually nurturing their mentor relationships as well as their mentee relationships. It's a give and take thing here. Another one I always hear, and it's so funny to me, is I'm not perfect, or I'm not an expert in my field, or I'm not a manager, so I don't qualify to be a mentor. That is absolutely false. And remember, I stress this one more than I stress for all the other ones, because again, A, no one is perfect. B, even those that call themselves experts in a field don't necessarily know every single itty bitty thing. And third, a manager is just a title. If you think about it, it's just a title. I know we hear this a lot and it might be a cliche, but at the end of the day, you can be whatever you want to be. And as we've established from the start, mentoring is, as established or will soon establish, mentoring is not necessarily for one particular area. So there is something you must know. There must be some knowledge you've acquired for all the years you've been on planet Earth. So it could be within your career, which is the most common one that we find. It could be in marriage. Maybe there's a newlywed somewhere, or you're newlywed and you need some information you don't know about. You could be a teenager just getting into college and you're trying to figure out this whole college thing. How do I make friends? Blah, blah, blah. So from the mentor or the mentee perspective, there's so much that can be learned. And there's so much that can be given regardless of what stage or phase of life that you're in. So that perfection or expertise or title thing, I don't think it comes into play here. I think the next myth that we often hear about is that only young people benefit from mentoring. I mean, that's the most, only younger people, I should say. That's the one we hear about the most, only younger people. But that's not necessarily true. There are older people that are transitioning in their careers that might need a mentor. And again, because it's multifaceted, that could be a situation that you're going through and you know someone else that's been through it, or you've heard of someone else and you want to glean from that person. And I've also heard, well, there are books, I'm older, I can just read a book and I can get it. But there's something to be said about really connecting with a human being that can provide more perspective and more context than a book can ever give you. So just something to think about. If you're on the older side and you feel, oh, I've been there, done that, I've mentored so many people, I'm good, I don't need a mentor. No, everyone needs someone to learn from at every stage and point in your lives. Regardless of how busy you are, time can be made. Now, I know, I've said a whole bunch of things about the general myths and the lies that we tell ourselves, but, I think now is a good point to kind of take a poll. I think we have a number of folks online now. So we want to know, who here is in a mentoring relationship? So just click the one that applies to you. That's a yes or no question. And the second one is, whether or not your mentoring relationship is successful. Do you think it's been successful so far? Would really like to hear. I will give us 5 seconds to quickly answer the poll, and I'm sure the administrator will give us the results of the poll. So, are you in a mentoring relationship? If so, is it successful? Is it working? Let us know. We're really eager to hear from the audience.
We have 2 more people. Let's give a couple, another minute or so.
Okay.
One more. Okay. So let's assume the last person is probably not going to vote. So I'll just go ahead and end the poll and share the results.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so 76% or 75% of folks on the call are in a mentoring relationship, and 63% say it's successful. 38% say it is not successful. Okay, All right, we're gonna get into like the whole success, not successful thing shortly. But it's interesting to know that a good number of people on this call are actually involved in mentoring relationships. So the journey has begun, which is fantastic. So now we just need to talk about what are the more complicated myths? What are the ones that are, you know, harder to identify even as we go on this mentoring journey? You just might find out that there are probably people in your life that, you know, are mentors, or you mentor and you just didn't know that you were actually doing that. So that's for the 25% of people that responded that they are currently not in a mentoring relationship. So the first myth, mentors are for my career. I only need it for my job and in a professional setting, and outside of that, I don't need a mentor. That's not true. As we've established previously, our lives are complicated, multifaceted. Where, you know, for single folks out there, you know, you have family, you have people around you, you have your social group and all of that. For those that are married, you have a husband, you have kids, you have I have friends that are sometimes like they're involved in nonprofit work, so there's those challenges on that end. You're part of maybe a ministry in a religious setting. That's something else. So there are different phases and compartments to our lives. And so your selection of mentors can also be in different phases and in different like compartments of our lives. So I think that it's important. The more reason why I hear about mentors in the workplace, I think people often think, you know, they often confuse mentoring with sponsorship. So they kind of conflate the two, and they are two different things. I'm not going to go into what sponsorship is. You can do a quick Google search and that will give you the answers that you're looking for. But it's important to know that you can have a mentor in every area of your life. You can get a marriage mentor if, you know, marriage is something that, you know, you need more information on. You can get a mentor that's, you know, experienced in parenting if you have young kids or even older kids. Like, you can learn from other people, like what their experiences have been and what you can do better. So they're just various ways that a mentor could be useful to you. So you just need to identify, well, what areas am I struggling with, or I'm doing okay, but I can do better. And that area, you can get a mentor for that if you choose to. So the second myth in this category, mentoring is like a marriage. The mentee proposes and the mentor says, I do. And I use that analogy because I find a lot of people will approach someone and say, will you be my mentor? And maybe they never hear anything back, as was my case once upon a time when I was a much more introverted person. So a mentoring relationship doesn't necessarily have to be formal. You don't have to walk up to someone you admire and say, be my mentor, because sometimes that scares potential mentors because they feel like, oh, I don't have the time. I'm so busy and blah, blah, blah. So at the end of the day, it just, you know, it might not work out that way. I have a personal example on that. I will call her Patricia. So Patricia is this really senior lady in my organization. She's African-American. She's super sharp, super smart, very eloquent, very confident, presents nicely, brings herself to every meeting. And I remember we were having this really huge conference at my job, and that was my first exposure to her. She was the only colored person on the stage, and she just wowed me. And so I was shy. I didn't feel like I should be walking up to someone so senior and saying hi. So fast forward to 2 weeks later, I ran into her in the hallway, and I was like, excuse me, I just loved your presentation. You know, it was great. And then she was like, oh, Tola, let's have lunch. Set it up. So I called her assistant. We had lunch, and she wowed me again with so many words of wisdom and nuggets. And I was going through a turbulent, time in my career, and she was just hitting me all over the face with wisdom. And so I go back to my desk that day, and I wrote this like nice thank you note that almost reads like a poem. And then I said, at the end of it, I ended it with, will you be my mentor? I promise not to take too much of your time and blah, blah, blah. And she never responded to my email. I waited and I thought, oh my God, did I just shoot myself in the foot? Why did I do that? But I was like, you know what? I asked. and, maybe I shouldn't have asked, but I kept the conversation going. I noticed that every time I approached her, I want to meet up with you. She was always open. She was always so kind and so gracious. And she was imparting so much knowledge into me. And I was like, you know what? Regardless, I'm just going to keep going with this. And I kept going with this. And fast forward to about 3 months ago, I was organizing a women's program in my organization. And I asked her to be our main speaker. And so as she was speaking, she just started talking, and she delved into mentoring a little bit. And then she said, my mentee, blah, 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 blah. And she would look straight at me and she winked at me. And I said, oh my God, was she talking to me just now from the stage? And then afterwards, she was like, so Tola, did you see that reference I gave you there? Did you? And I was like, in my head, I was like, oh my God, she actually sees me as a mentee. Newsflash, she never officially accepted my proposal, but she was my mentor. And she has been and continues to be my mentor. And I give that long-winded example just to say, you don't have to go and propose. You don't have to put the potential mentor in an uncomfortable situation. You can just build the relationship, see how it goes, keep building it up. And before you know it, it could get to a point where the mentor feels confident enough to say, this is my mentee. And even if you never get to that point, you're still getting the wisdom. You're still getting the knowledge. So it doesn't matter. Labels really do not matter. So you don't have to propose. You don't have to. It can just happen. The next myth, mentoring is draining. It's a one-way road. Only the mentee gets something out of it at the expense of the mentor's time. We all know time is a very precious commodity. It's, potential mentors are very busy. I mean, this lady I'm talking about, she's the head of a division. She's busy, and she has people coming at her from all, so potential mentors are busy, and so at the end of the day, if it's a one-sided relationship, if one person is always taking, and the other person is always giving, it can get really tiring, and that might not work. And so the goal is, mentors should be getting something out of this too as well. And what I mean by that is that you're getting knowledge from your mentees. Like if there's a generational gap or something, you're getting that knowledge. I know a lot of older mentors, one of the things that I hear they benefit from is just understanding social media and technology and all these different, all these different new aspects that might not have been a big thing in their day and age. So a mentor, has the opportunity within a mentoring relationship to, get leadership and management experience as well. Remember, that thing in your head, I'm not a manager. Well, you can manage this relationship. It is an experience that I believe pays, in exponential terms. The mentor could also gain a new outlook even on themselves and on their journeys, whether it's their career journey, their life journeys. There's so many things you can learn from. Imagine if you're mentoring a teenager, for instance, and all the mistakes that you made, and you see it potentially happening in this young person's life. That is an opportunity to impart knowledge, not control, not tell them what to do, but just share and be open of yourself. And that in that way, not only are you making an impact, the person too is also able to enlighten you on some of the things that might have changed from your day. So just something to think about. As a mentor, simply do what you can. It doesn't have to be draining. As a mentee, think about how you can give back to your mentor. How can you help them accomplish their goals? How can you help them with the things that they need to make happen? So mentoring does require a level of availability and interactions, but the time commitment, it really just depends on the needs of the mentee and the strength of the mentor-mentee relationship. And you'll hear, that term relationship, you'll hear it a lot as we talk because, it's important. So both parties within the relationship, they're learning and they're growing. The next one I always hear about, I think I've been saying I always hear about it because I hear a lot about these things. Mentors have to be older than you. That is an absolute lie. A mentor doesn't have to be older than you are. I say that because there are older people that are changing their career path or their career trajectories. They're getting into a new area. And in that instance, you might need someone, to tell you how they did it. Or you're starting a business and there's this younger person that's really doing fantastic, understands digital marketing and things like that, and you want to learn that. Or, yeah, I mean, there's so many examples that I can give of instances where it could be inverted. The older person might actually be the mentee. So I think that, you know, older folks just have to, you know, swallow the humble pill and just make it work, you know, and just, you know, get what you need to get from that relationship while being open to give to that relationship. In other areas of your mentor's life where your mentor might actually need some help and you're experienced enough to give them that help. So just think about it that way. And let's not just be like, you know, linear focused, everything going in one direction doesn't always work out that way. And I think the final point that I have on here is, you know, mentoring is not for me. I failed in my last mentoring relationship. It's just not part of me. It just doesn't work, or it won't work. I've tried it before. No, wrong. Think about if you gave up on everything that you ever tried that failed. You know, in life, failure is a lesson. It teaches you what you shouldn't do again. You know, you remember a few moments ago I said it takes two to make a relationship work. I think in mentoring, you know, I tell myself, you know what? Just one, all you need is one person to make that relationship work. Maybe the person you selected as a mentor is not a good fit. Maybe you just don't have things enough in common. Like there's so many different examples that I can give of why a mentoring relationship could fail. But then you just have to dust it off, start again, look for another mentor. Another mentor might find you. You never know how these things are going to pan out in the end. So keep that in mind, even as you know, go embark on this, you know, mentoring journey. It's very interesting. You get to learn a lot. And it's just really, really, you know, impactful. It's an opportunity for both parties within the relationship. So that being said, so what do you get out of being a mentor? Next slide, please. So I try not to think about it from like, what do you get? But it's also important to know, you know, what are you trying to accomplish by being a mentor? You get to pay it forward. Being a mentor is an opportunity to pass on the knowledge that you've gained to someone else that would be very useful. You don't know, you might be saving a life, you know, by reaching out to someone and by choosing to mentor them, whether it's in a formal kind of, you know, program or whether it's informal. You want to make it, you know, I hear people say a lot, you know, I want to make an impact. My New Year's resolution is, you know, I want to influence the next generation. I really wanna. But then, you know, someone walks up to you for advice and you say, oh, you know, I'm so busy, my children, my this, my job, my that. No, I mean, people make time for the things that are important to them, right? And sometimes when you make a decision, you have to, you know, create actionable steps that will help you to get to that end goal. So your opportunity to make an impact is through mentoring. It's so simple. To influence a generation is through mentoring. You can do, or I should say mentoring is one of those channels through which you can do that and do that successfully. So imagine whoever mentored Jeff Bezos, for instance, and now he's the richest man in the world. So you never know who you might be impacting. And, you know, one thing that I want to say on this point is that, you know, I talked about like excuses that some people could potentially have with regard to why they're not in a mentoring relationship or why they're not given so much to the mentoring relationships that they're in right now. And it reminds me of one of the stories I read in one of my favorite books. And it talks about, I think it's captioned like the parable of the talents or something like that. And it talks about how there was a man, a rich man going on a journey, and he had some things, you know, he wanted to give to his servants before he left. So to one servant, he gave the servant 5 coins. To another servant, he gave 3 coins. And to the last, he gave 1 coin. So what ended up happening, and the master was like, adios, I'm going on this journey. I don't know when I'll be back, you know, do what you can. The folks that got the 5 coins and the 3 coins, they went, they invested with it. They did so much with this and they doubled what they had, right? The one that had 1 coin, he was like, oh my gosh, this coin is so precious. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I'm afraid to lose it. So they just dug a little hole, put the coin in there and buried it and was like, at least I know that when the master returns, it's right there and I can give it right back to him. And at the end of the day, that was the most disappointing and the saddest story. Why? Because at least he had something. There was something significant he had that he could have used, no matter how little, he could have used to make an impact. who knows? He could have doubled it. Who knows? Because he only had one thing to focus on, maybe he could have tripled it. You know, you just don't know. So at the end of the day, what am I saying? I am saying, take a risk and be open with someone. Take a risk and mentor someone, or be mentored by someone. Any knowledge that you have, now I'm speaking to mentors, potential mentors, any knowledge that you have, no matter how little, no matter how insignificant it might look, even if it might just be in one particular very small niche area, you don't know if that's what's going to have the potential to save someone's life, or save someone's destiny, or save someone's career. So at the end of the day, all I'm saying is that we all have at least one significant thing. We all have it. God has placed in us at least one thing that we can take and that we can serve up to the world. So my question to you is, what are you willing to serve up? As you serve that up, you don't know how it will multiply. I say that because I've heard of situations where there was a mentor-mentee relationship going on, and you know what happened? Very interestingly, the mentee found out about a job opportunity that wasn't really broadcasted, sent it to their mentor because they know that their mentor is interested in that kind of thing. The mentor applied, got the position, moved on ahead. The mentee just helped the mentor out. So at the end of the day, it's not a one-sided relationship. There's so much you can get out of it. And if anything, you can help one person. So I say all that to say, you know what? It's time for us to step out of our comfort zones. It's time for us to just be willing to take a risk, be willing to open up. You might be telling yourself, well, I'm an introvert, or, you know, I'm not really, you know, whatever. Make the best do with what you have. And you don't know the multiplicative effects that could potentially have, not just on someone else, but on yourself too as well. And so now you might be thinking, well, how am I going to do it? I don't know what to do. I don't know, like, how will I even approach someone? What am I going to do? Whatever your excuse is, or whatever might be going through your mind right now, I have something important to share with you, which is on the next slide. And that is that you have a potential opportunity to take all that you have heard today and make it actionable and take it forward. But before I get to that, I want to take a pause here. I want to find out if there's anyone on here that has questions with regard to what you've heard so far, that has questions about how to make this mentoring relationship work, or how to start or embark upon a mentoring relationship. Like, whatever the question is, please go to the chat. We can take questions via the chat, and I think our administrator can also give us more details about how folks can ask questions.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so I apologize, I'm having some connection issues here, but I thought I saw a question. There was a question that was put in in the Q&A segment, but I believe it was wiped out because of the internet connection. So if you're the one that sent that question, please retype it. Do apologize. And then it seems somebody is raising their hand. So you can ask questions a couple of ways. You can use the chat functionality and just type your question. You could also use the Q&A. There's a Q&A session segment there, so you can just ask a question there. I will also be looking out for any questions that you have. And if you want to speak, you know, we will be happy to hear your beautiful voice, even better. You know, please, you can just raise your hand. I see TT. Yeah, you have a question. I'm going to allow you to talk. And you know, I'll unmute you. I've unmuted you. So I think you might need to unmute yourself. Let me see. It's not allowing me to unmute you. You might need to unmute yourself. You might have muted yourself if you have a question. I don't know if you raised your hand by mistake because it's been up for a while. If not, questions. Okay, I think the Q&A question.
Yeah, the Q&A, we do have 2 questions on there, and I can go on to that if TT's.
Yes, go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay.
See the questions? Okay.
Yes, I see the questions.
Okay.
So the first question I have on here is, how do you identify how you as a mentee can benefit your mentor? How do you negotiate that naturally? I think that as you build out a relationship, you not only the mentor is telling you what they have learned, the mentor is telling you about their life experiences. Sometimes they tell you about what they're doing, depending on how open the mentor is. And as they tell you about like, different like potential challenges, like you can just, begin to do research for them. So a practical example is one of the very first mentors that I had. I was in a mentoring program several years ago, and I had this mentor that had her own business. And she was really trying to launch that business. She was trying to take it to the next level. And at that point, I was volunteering somewhere else, waiting for the perfect opportunity to come by. But then I was like, you know what, this lady has impacted so much into me. So, let me begin to try to help her out. So I just simply told her, how can I help you? She sent me a list of some of the information that she had. And she was like, maybe you can do this, maybe you can do that. And I was like, oh, how about we do this? How about we do this as well? And I started helping her out that way. So that's one way that you could, just being very attentive, not only to the advice that you're being given, but to the little nuggets. Like you can ask questions about like, oh, what challenges are you, going through, right? Like it can just flow in the conversation as they're providing you with advice. Like, okay, this is how I handle this is how I handle that. Oh, are there, any, so from the conversation, you'll kind of start hearing a trend of like maybe challenges that they could be having. And you can start providing potential like tidbits here and there. And then you might see something online that's related to the area that they work in. So for instance, one of my mentors, they're in like the digital banking transformation type of area. And I follow the news a lot just because of the nature of my job. Any financial services thing, I'm into it. And so when I see something about like, digital transformation with a bank or a bank that is struggling, I just copy the link and send it to them. Like, this is something that you might be interested in. And most often I will hear back, oh, thank you so much. I just forwarded it to my organization. This is very good. That's how, so the mentor is encouraged because they're like, wow, this person actually listens. This person actually cares about what I'm doing. That's kind of the way that you could do it naturally. Copying a link from an article and send it, it's super easy. You don't even have to say much in it, but you score points with your mentor that way. The next question from Nana, it says, how do you identify a potential mentee? So there are several ways of doing that. And I'll give you examples from my life. So at my job, I have younger colleagues that I work with. They don't look like me. They don't talk like me. So I try to think about this from a, what would I have loved to know when I was younger in my career? So I'll give you one career example and I'll give you like out of career example. So, and I started thinking about, wow, these girls, they're super smart. They could be doing so much more. And I just started talking to them. Like I have never for once used the word mentor or whatever. They just come to me, they ask me questions and I give them advice. And they keep coming back and I keep being open. I might be in the middle of writing a memo or doing something. They come to me because that's the same graciousness that I have received from Patricia and from all the other people that mentor me. And so when they come, I'll say, so it all started off by them asking me questions and by me showing that I'm interested in their lives and in their career and in their progress. So I have someone at my job right now that she talks to me about her marriage and, how am I going to, and it all started off from me just being curious and being open and being inviting. And then she would come to me with a challenge, and, we would talk. So that's within work, right? Even within work, we talk about non-work related things. And then, and then the other part of it is like personally, I have just younger people around me that have questions about life, about relationships, and one day I even got a proposal not too long ago from this young lady that was like, I really just want you to be, my mentor, blah, blah, blah. But the funny thing is that I never heard from her after that one long conversation that we had, but I still check up on her. So at the end of the day, just being open and, no matter the smallest little thing that people come to you with, being open to like, help them out with that. And then let them know that you're open, if you ever have any questions, and then it just blossoms that way. And again, you don't have to put a label to it. And I hope I've been able to answer that question. And if there's any question that we're dealing with on here that I haven't fully answered, please feel free to type something back in again and we can get back to it, okay? I have another question here. It says, how do you maintain your current mentor-mentee relationship to become a lifetime one, especially when the main purpose has been addressed? The answer is it doesn't have to be a lifetime one. Remember, we went through this when we were going through the slides. Sometimes a mentoring relationship is just time bound. It's just for that season. It doesn't mean that you dump them. You still check up on them, blah, 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 keep the conversation going. But that might be the reason why that person came into your life, and that reason has been fulfilled. And that is okay. Versus always going back and wasting the mentor's time. You never want to do that, right? And who knows, because you keep on nurturing and, reaching out periodically, you never know if the next phase or the next 2 phases, you might actually need to really re-engage with that person. Imagine how awkward it would be if you just left it aside at that time. Now, so that's all to say, a mentoring relationship does not have to be forever. It can be for a period. It can, but then touching on the ones that are forever, I think one thing for me is that mentoring relationships should never be forced. So at the end of the day, there are some relationships that start off in one area and they transcend into other areas. So for instance, this lady Patricia that I was talking to you folks about. So I had a challenge. My first child is going into kindergarten, and I was really struggling between private school, which is what I'm used to, and public school. And I kept thinking about it, and it was interfering with my job because I really just want my kid to have the best start in life. And the thought just came to me, why not go talk to Patricia? And I'm like, but she's always very busy and I don't want to bug her. And I just went to her, knocked on her door. Hi. I guess she saw my face. She was like, come on in. And the words that she spoke and the things that she said, I mean, I was just amazed. I was almost like crying, like this woman just gets where I'm coming from. So there will be those relationships where the mentor just gets it. If you have those relationships, it doesn't necessarily mean that if you don't check in with this person in a month or 2 months, that means the relationship is dead. You can just keep nurturing it. There will be things that come up, and naturally you would know like the right person to pick out of your mentor pool. So again, this question might really be, maybe maybe you have just one mentor and you feel like you have to stretch that relationship versus having multiple mentors, and then you can pick who you go to with whatever issue or whatever you need resolved at that point in time. So I hope I've been able to answer that question. And then the last one I have on here, it says, what are useful tips to dealing with poor communication skills from your mentor, even though you've reached out severally and are flexible, but to no avail? So yes, you never want to bug someone that's not being responsive. I don't know if this is one of those proposal type mentoring relationships where there's that label. I don't know if this is if this is that situation. But typically, if someone is not really making the time out, I think there's several, depending on the nature of your relationship and how much that relationship is in sync. It could be, whenever you talk, you could schedule a meeting and say, I know life is busy. Is there a particular time you want me to reach out to you? Can we have something on a monthly or every other month to kind of touch base? If you are comfortable doing that, if the relationship is, that, you have to really be like emotionally intelligent about how you approach that. That could be one way. The other thing is you kind of have to evaluate, like, did that relationship ever really work from the start? Was there ever really that organic connection from the start? If there wasn't, then you have to think, is this the only, do I need another mentor? You have to think about that too. Some people like are really bad with responding, and maybe like 2 months down the line, they'll respond. And life gets busy. So you have to like understand that and not take that to heart, and not take that to mean that, like, don't take it personal. Let me use that word. Never take it personal. Never like be bitter towards a mentor. Just keep rolling with it. Again, if you have more than one mentor, and if you nurture relationships, you know the ones that, oh yes, this set of people, they will always respond. Like, even if they can't talk to me right then, they'll just send me a quick note. I'm busy, I'll reach back out to you, and then you let them, and then they'll get back to you. But never ever bug a particular person, because then it could breed bitterness in your heart, and you never want that. And then on that part, you don't want to be like, a pest, right? Someone that they're trying to avoid. So when you try the first time and you try the second time, you can call a meeting, or you can send an email. Oh, just checking in. Let me know when you have a few moments to talk, blah, blah, blah. And just keep it clean. And if that person never responds, fine. You just move on and you get another mentor. So I hope I have been able to adequately address. Oh, I have more. I didn't know that. Sorry. Okay, so this is the final one that I will take from the Q&A. If there's anyone that wants to ask a question, I think the lines, you can still unmute yourself for the next few moments, but I'm going to take this question that I have here. So it says, I feel uncomfortable and struggle to maintain relationship with mentors. I feel like they are open to relationships, but I don't really know what to do or how to maintain the relationship, even when there appears to be an organic connection. That's an interesting one. I am sensing that this individual potentially is introverted. And I know that, like, with being introverted, there are struggles between, what can I say? What can I share? Or I don't have anything to share. I don't have anything to say. So the connection part is there, which is great. Like, you're already connecting with the person. I think for me, like, I used to tell myself I was introverted. I believe I still am, but some people will argue otherwise. As an introvert, I think it's important to establish, like, what are your goals? What is the goal of that relationship? What area is that person helping you out with? What other, like, kind of crafting out like a strategy. I go into everything with a strategy. My husband is a strategy consultant, so I just have to think strategy-wise in everything that I'm going into. So I say, okay, I have this relationship. Okay, what's working? Write it down. Pros. What's not working? Write it down. Cons. And now I'm thinking, how can I make this work? How can I shift the cons into the pros? Are there things that I need to work on? So I think about it. Okay, maybe, I'm not being open enough. Maybe there are other issues that I have, or other challenges that I really need to dissect. But I only tell my mentor like this really tiny piece, and I don't let them know everything else. Is that perhaps something that I need to change? I know this person cares about me, cares about my growth. So, maybe I can be more open. That's something to think about. Maybe I can write down a list of things that I'm trying to tackle and take those things one at a time. So be more systematic. Maybe that's what I need to do. So that way I can get the most out of it. And there's nothing wrong with going back to a particular goal or a particular point that's still a sticky issue and talking about it even more with the mentor. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Again, if there's that connection, they'll be more than open and more than happy to listen and to delve into those issues. There's also the question, and I keep touching on this because it's true. Is it time to pause on this mentoring relationship? So just things for you to think about. And I hope that the information shared so far has been useful. I think in the interest of time, we kind of have to keep going with the slides. And so this is the slide I wanted to come back to. At the start of the session, we had talked, when Kemi was introducing me, she talked about my involvement with the EPR mentoring program. And so we're trying to do a mentoring reboot. We are embarking upon a mentoring reboot. And what does that mean? So as most of you likely know, there is a conference coming up in November. I believe it's from November 21 to 24. Within that EPR conference, we are going to be having a we're going to be having a session. It's called a Breakfast Connect session, where we hope to match up both mentors and mentees. So what I mean by that is we're going to be inviting a cohort of mentors, so people that have signaled their interest and that have been vetted by EPR, which is our mothership, that have been vetted to say these are folks that are approved and that have signed up to be mentors, and then also having folks that want to be mentees, and a mentor can also be a mentee. So it's not like you have to be one or the other. You can be matched up with a mentor and also be matched up with a mentee. But the goal of the Breakfast Connect, or one of the goals, is to have mentors and mentees in the same room where you can connect. Or who knows, organic relationships you might just click with someone from there, and all you need to let us know is, okay, we've clicked, and then we'll provide you with any support that we can on your mentoring journey. So all of that is to say, if your excuse before was, I don't know how to start, how do I identify a mentee? Well, we'll help you out with that. We'll help you with matching up with a mentee, because not only does, do the mentors sign up, the mentees, they have to sign up and let us know what their interest lies. And then if you don't have an organic matchup right there at the conference, we can also help you based off of the information that has been submitted to us, help you match up. And that way you can embark on the very, very wonderful, the amazing journey of impacting and being impacted by someone else. So please seriously consider it. More information regarding registration will come up. Our audience are high schoolers. So we want to catch them young, right? We want to impact, the younger generation. We want to influence them, before they start making potentially life-changing decisions or mistakes, or before they hit those challenges. And so that's why we've kind of said, high schoolers, about to get into college, and then however old you are. Remember, mentoring is not age bound, so you're never too old to be mentored. So that is our target audience. And this is a particular session within the conference that you do have to register for. So we're going to provide more information to you on how you can register, how you can secure a spot, because we just have limited space, and how you can begin that journey to impacting the lives of others. If you have questions, please, please, please contact us, eprministry@gmail.com. If you want to sign up to be a mentor, you already know from this presentation, you know what, I want to be a mentor, or you know what, I want to be a mentee, or, I have this younger sister who has a friend that will benefit, she's still in high school, but she will really benefit from having someone, that she can talk to, that's objective and not connected to her. Please send all this information our way. We are in the thick of planning. We will begin to roll out information about the session, as well as about the mentoring program itself. So please reach out to us. Right now, if you know you want to sign up, please just type in your computer, eprministry@gmail.com, and then just say, I want to sign up to be a mentor. Please send me more information. Or I want to sign up to be a mentee. Please send me more information, and we will get back to you. Just make sure the subject is the mentoring program, and we'll get back to you. Ladies, it's time for us to make an impact. I know it's not the start of the year. I know, where we usually make resolutions, but you know what? You can make a resolution right now that I'm going to take that leap and I'm going to be open. I don't have to, if I already have a mentor, I can mentor more people. If I'm already being mentored by someone, well, maybe there's another area that someone else could help you out with. Mentoring is amazing. It has changed the trajectory of my life, of my career, of the relationships that I have with others. So it's time to emerge. Come out of hiding, okay? Dig up that coin and put it to good use. Thank you so much for joining. I will pass it right back on to the administrator. Thank you for your time.
All right, wow. What can I say? I don't know about you all, but I believe we have had an extremely powerful session today, and I am loaded with a lot of new insights, new information. So I just want to say a huge thank you to Tala. Thank you so much for being a blessing to us today. This recording will be available for everyone. We will push the information out so that folks that couldn't join will benefit from this. I do have a couple of things very quickly before we wrap up. Bear with us. We typically try to keep this to an hour, but our time has been very, very well spent. So first of all, I'm gonna run a poll quickly to just get feedback. This is our typical practice. We like to know how we're doing, get your feedback on what you have heard today, so that we can continue to learn and grow. Secondly, so I'll run it in a minute, but before I do that, I just wanted to find out, do we have anybody who is joining us for the very first time? I see a couple of new names that I've not seen before. So if you're, just tell me in the chat box if you're joining us for the very first time. I don't think I've seen Oluwaseun Badru before, or is this your first time? Anybody? I'm asking because not only do we want to welcome you, we do have some goodies for you. All right, maybe not. All right. Well, sorry about that. Okay, I guess we don't have anybody who's joined us for the very first time. Oh, I think we do. Give me 1 second. Let me just check the chat box. I guess the announcement about this is not my first time. Oh, okay. All right, well, good to see you. I guess I didn't notice your name the last time, so well, thanks for joining us today. Is there, let's see, I'm trying to see, is there anybody joining us for the second time? Because I really need to give this goodie out. Anybody that joined us for the second time? Okay. All right. Well, I don't know. Look at you. So Ife, you have won a goodie before. Oh, first. So we have a first. Okay, all you seconds, you are disqualified from the goodie. So RF Fad, welcome. Thank you for joining us for the very first time. Thank you for the second timers for joining us again. We always like to just have you come back again. It means you enjoyed the first time. So welcome. All right, thanks for joining us today. And we do have a giveaway for you. We want to just appreciate you for joining us for the very first time. And we have a giveaway, and it's the book Leaning. I'm not sure if you have read it before. We will be in touch with you to give you your prize, to let us know what format you want it in, audio, Kindle, whatever works for you, and we will be happy to give you your prize. So thank you so much and congratulations. And again, I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. A reminder, we do have sessions every single month. The only month that we don't have sessions will be the EPR conference that will be occurring in November. So for next month, every third Saturday of the month, which is September 21st for next month, we will have another webinar, and we'll be sharing details shortly. So I'm gonna run the poll real quick to get your feedback, and then we should be good to go. So let me run the second poll. There you go. All right. If you can please just give us your feedback. Can you all see the poll? Awesome, awesome. Thank you. Thank you for responding. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. Right, feedback is a gift. We always appreciate your feedback. Awesome. Thank you so much. As we move quickly, just as a reminder, just as Tola mentioned, of course, we have the Emergence Conference that is coming up in the month of November. We're super, super excited. This is the next level. This is a major milestone for us. It's our 7th year of having retreat turned into conference now, and we are looking forward to our global conference is, so to say, coming up. And this is important to us as EPR Women's Network because we do have a major segment in there just where we'll be doing a lot of personal development, and we have some amazing sessions planned for you all. So save the date. Look at the registration details are already out. We'll be sure to share that with you in our follow-up email to make sure that you register. So please save your spot today, and we look forward to having you next month. Again, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Tola, for being such an amazing, powerful, dynamic speaker today. May God bless you and continue to fill you up, with wisdom and insights, in the assignment that He has given you. Thanks, and have a lovely weekend ahead, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.